From 3 matches, I can bring you 10 goals, 9 goal scorers, and 1 weekend of Premier League football, where Rasmus Højlund didn't even make the bench. Hi, I'm Wayne, and welcome to Goals by the Numbers. Let's get straight into it. So, the Premier League has returned. We now have something to do on our Saturdays, our Sundays, and sometimes during the week at about 7:30, 7:45, or 8 p.m. It feels like it's been an absolute age since the last round of Premier League matches, and we're now back. The season has started, and currently Manchester City sit top of the league by 1 goal. It is what it is, right? So, today we're going to discuss 3 different matches, that being Arsenal visiting Manchester United to play at Old Trafford, Liverpool going head to head with Bournemouth, and Sunderland in their first match back in the Premier League against West Ham. It's really interesting games, so let's just see how it goes. So, our first match, that being Liverpool 4, Bournemouth 2. After Liverpool's defeat to Crystal Palace on penalties in the FA Community Shield, the champions have been looking to bounce back and put down a very firm marker for the current season and get a win against Bournemouth, which they did achieve. In this match, Liverpool went 2-0 up with via goals from Hugo Ekitike, their new signing from Frankfurt, and from Cody Gakpo. Cody Gakpo, who incidentally, over the course of the match, made 10 attempted take-ons and only completed 2. When I see numbers like that, I think to myself, bro, you've got to pass the ball. if you're not dribbling past someone, pass the ball, pass the ball. However, he did get a goal. He did get a goal, and Liverpool won. So really, can we really point a finger? I'll leave it to the Liverpool fans to decide. So Hugo Ekitike so far looks like a really good signing. He seems to be up with the pace of the Premier League, or at least how Liverpool are playing. Has really good movement and seems really incisive when he decides to shoot and score. So I think over the course of the season, it's going to be very interesting to see how he progresses. And it does make me think to myself, what exactly is or could Alexander Isak do if he also joins? How much firepower does one team really need? Honestly, the fact that Liverpool also seem to play with just the 2 centre-backs at the back as the full-backs push forward, which is part of the reason Bournemouth actually got their two goals via Semenyo. I guess we're going to see Liverpool winning games like 4-2, 3-1, 5-2, 5-3, and they might just try to overpower everyone because, I mean, if it works, why not, right? Why not? But back to the match. Digressed far too much. Liverpool went 1 up for Hugo Ekitike. He cut on from the right, beat a couple of players, and when it came to the keeper, effectively gave him the eyes. Keeper went down early, and he just slotted it in. Good goal. He's off the mark. Then came Gakpo. He got a second goal, which made Liverpool 2-0 up. Liverpool seemed to be reasonably comfortable, reasonably cruising, but then Bournemouth counter-attacked twice. Once slightly down the left, ball came across, Semenyo got it home. Then Semenyo was running at the Liverpool centre-backs. Fewer players were around. If you notice, Van Dijk went slightly to his left, or Semenyo's right, tracking another player, which almost effectively gave enough space for Semenyo to take a step in and shoot and score and get the equaliser. At that point, there was just over 10 minutes to go. Game on. The last thing Liverpool would have wanted following the defeat to Crystal Palace would have been points dropped and at home. And up stepped Chiesa. But as the ball was headed away from the Bournemouth goal, 2 players kind of jumped into each other, so it wasn't really cleared. Chiesa stepped up, swung his boot, ball went back to the net, crowd goes wild. Liverpool now 3-2 up. Effectively, you can't really see them getting beat at this point. And it left me wondering, where is the usual Salah goal and assist? Then we get Liverpool breakaway. Salah showing pace. That, of course, if you think Salah's on a downward trend, he should be running this fast, but he is still. Isn't that amazing? He runs away from the Bournemouth defender, gets the ball, cuts in. Now Salah's on the left. We know he's got a great left foot, but this time he looks up, cuts in, and with his right foot gets the ball home. Liverpool 4-2 up, and end of the match. So Liverpool get points on the board, score some goals, concede two, but again, I think it'll be in the first weekend of the season. You could potentially get a few players who just aren't fully up to speed. And I guess we'll see over the next coming weeks what what Liverpool's defence is like. And with Newcastle in mind, that is who Liverpool are playing next. So I'd be really curious to see if Isaac is signed by then, staying at Newcastle by then. We'll have to wait and see in the next video. Liverpool had over 60% possession in the match which they statistically dominated and seemed comfortable apart from the two counter-attack goals. And we'll have to see how they do against Newcastle and go from there. So that takes us on to our second match, which was Manchester United 0, Arsenal 1. So Manchester United fans, and as a fan, would have been concerned playing a team such as Arsenal on the first weekend of Premier League matches. Why? Arsenal have been really, really good for the last few seasons. And quite frankly, the two teams aren't rivals at this point. Arsenal would have been looking to come to Old Trafford and win simply because they have a better team. More consistent output over the last couple of years, stable club. So why not? And they got that win. But what was interesting about this match was the fact that Manchester United actually looked organised. They actually won most of the stats, which was quite strange to see. So Manchester United had most shots on target. They had the most shots in and out of the box. They had more possession than Arsenal. And watching the game, it almost seemed to be as if Arsenal got their goal and just decided, actually, you know what? We're not scared. We're just going to shut up shop and sit deep and let them do their thing. The Arsenal goal, it wasn't Arsenal won. End of the day, stats are stats. But the one stat that's important is the score and who gets the points. Arsenal's goal came from a corner where Bayindir effectively was just too weak to get the ball out. He got a hand to it, but not a strong hand to it. And it fell to Calafiori, who was a couple of yards out and just prodded the ball home. And that was it. Game done. Manchester United did half a lot. There was really good attacking intent, especially from Mbeumo and Cunha. In fact, there was a Cunha chance where he got the ball in the middle of his own half and ran about half of the field before having a shot at David Raya. Ultimately a tame shot, but it was good to see a player actually attacking, and the fact that it didn't all come from Bruno Fernandes, who had a reasonably okay, steady, moderate game. Mbeumo also looked pretty handy with runs and a header that he had in the second half. And ultimately, what was interesting was Mount started up front with the three as part of the three attackers. Sesko was on the bench. There was no Rasmus Højlund. Where his career goes at this point in terms of Manchester United, I really do not know. But after his first season, where I believe he got 16 goals in the Premier League, or 16 goals in total. That was after a few months of not scoring, then scoring goals, a bit of a dry period, and then goals every week. And last season, where it just 4 goals in the Premier League last season. Yeah. So the fact that Sesko, who then come in a week ago, hasn't had that much training, got on the bench, still got half an hour, Højlund was nowhere to be seen. I don't know what happens with him at this point. But Arsenal, the Arsenal match was interesting. I did think with Zubimendi, Rice and Odegaard, they would just be too much for Bruno and Casemiro. But the actual pairing did okay. And I think that kind of leads us to the fact that Manchester United played well. Arsenal didn't play as well as they could have. But ultimately, if Arsenal have aspirations of winning the league, they are going to want to play matches like this, where they are, I wouldn't say poor, because poor would be a bit fair, but they're going to want to play matches where they are effective, if not glamorous, dominant, and all of the above. They got the 3 points they need. Realistically, they're going to lose about four games maybe this season. 4 games, 6 draws. So that's going to be about, quick maths, maybe about 20 points, just below 20 points. And going to Old Trafford might have been a bit of a banana slip, considering Manchester United, aka a big club, but not really the team and the output of a big club. That could potentially have an absolute not calamity. It's first game of the season. Let's not be too dramatic, but Arsenal will be happy to get the points and move on to Leeds next week, and they're not going to look back. They weren't as good as they could have been. Gyökeres looked a little off the pace, but again, I think a few players have just not looked completely ready so far this season, and it is the first game. And it makes me wonder, when you play friendlies, how beneficial are the friendlies to getting you up to speed? And for some reason, the friendlies this summer, a few of the players just look a bit short. So Arsenal move on to Leeds. At home, Manchester United are away at Fulham. We'll see how it goes. Okay, so on to our last match for this week, and that is Sunderland 3, West Ham 0. Sunderland, as one of the promoted teams, will be absolutely delighted to have got a win over West Ham, a team that's been in the Premier League for so many seasons at this point. All of Sunderland's goals came in the second half via two headers, actually, from Mayenda and Ballard, both actually nestling in the left-hand side of the keeper's goal. West Ham had a bunch of good chances. They had more shots in total. They also had more corners and also more possession. But Sunderland just seemed to be of the mind that they are going to be compact and effective and be reasonably direct in their play and not try to imitate other teams who've come up and just try and play tiki-taka, because realistically, in the Championship, you can do it fine. Yeah, you know, if you've got players of that level or good players for that level. But in the Premier League, it just seems to be stronger, fitter, quicker. It has more resources. So why would you try to play the brand of football that teams with masses of investment, i.e. Manchester City, are utilising? The winner from Isidore, he was running down the left, cut in, took us kind of tried to curl it into the right hand side of the West Ham goal, and the ball just bounced over the keeper. He didn't have the greatest of games against Sunderland, and we'll be happy that that they move on to another match for next week. I also think that what might be interesting would be to maybe just watch a team like Sunderland and see how they get on over the season, because for the last few seasons, it's constantly been the three teams that have been promoted have been the three teams that have gone down. It would be really good to see a team stay up and actually be able to spend a few seasons in the Premier League. But with the finances and the level of players, I'm not quite sure how it's going to go for West Ham, for Sunderland. They do have Granit Xhaka, who's come back from Germany, which could be a very shrewd signing, because he had, even though at the time when he was at Arsenal, the view of him was reasonably mixed. I think looking back on it, his time there will stand Sunderland in good stead, because he knows the league. He's an experienced player. He's come back being a winner of the Bundesliga, not last season but the season before. And as long as Sunderland stick to reasonably direct football, and understand that, you know, the other players from other teams are likely to just hold the ball more, you know, be a bit more organised, fitter, stronger. Like, I remember times Bowen was running with the ball, and it seems as if he had the freedom of Sunderland. So yeah, let's see how they get on. But questions, comments, concern. Are we happy the Premier League is back? Are we happy that Manchester City at top of the table after one game because of the extra goal difference in their 4-0 victory? How do we think the season is going to pan out? Do we think the three teams that have come up are going to stay up, or all go down? And who do we think is actually going to win the league? Because so far, we've seen an example of Arsenal's defence. Got a goal against Man United for Bayinder's poor effort. Shut up shop. Liverpool, well, we know how powerful their attack is, and they keep on signing more attackers, and they've got Mohamed Salah. And in Manchester City, they have lost Rodri again, but Reinders already looks reasonably good. So is he going to be able to make the gap up or provide cover? And then when Rodri comes back, the two of them combine and then just absolutely dominate teams. It's going to be an interesting season, and those three are going to make it a really interesting one. I think Chelsea, as the fourth team, should also be in the conversation. And we'll have to work out outside of those three teams plus Chelsea, who are the best of the rest. Villa and Newcastle drew on the weekend. They would arguably be part of the best of the rest. Then there is Tottenham, and due to the size of the club and history, I would hope to say Manchester United. But let's see if their efforts against Arsenal replicate against Fulham, and then maybe we can have a conversation about them potentially having a better season than last season. Anyway, have a good day. Catch you in the next one.